I have a confession. I have wanted to start this channel to film this particular video for years. And what has stopped me was feeling like I needed to have my contacts in. I needed to do my hair, have a full face of makeup, the perfect outfit, a beautifully aesthetic background, which is not me. And what is even more ironic is that this entire channel is talking about the performative nature of beauty. And what stopped me from talking about my passion, I'm a PhD researcher. I study the impact that advertising has on our mental and physical well being. And what has stopped me for the past 3 years is this feeling that I had to be perfect to get started. So, we are going to dive right in. Today, we're going to talk about the anti aging trap. This culture has become absolutely obsessed with youth, and you probably feel this pressure. Even just this morning, I would imagine you have probably already seen advertisements selling you to buy anti-aging serums and creams, and this prevented you use this light. All of this has gotten us so obsessed with chasing youth, which is in contrast to the principles, particularly that God tells us there is wisdom with gray hair from Proverbs. And I think that it's become so intense that we're focused on youth that it's preventing us from living and focusing in our purpose. So let's talk about this in 3 points. The first one is anti-aging has moved younger. And I think that is our biggest sign that our culture is obsessed with it, because even young people feel like they are not young enough, or they are prioritizing that they need to be ensuring that they do not age. And so we see this with our Sephora tween phenomenon, right? We have 10, 11, 12-year-old girls who are buying a bunch of anti-aging creams, and media tells them, shame on that little girl for buying that. Shame on those parents for letting her. This is an intentional revenue stream, I had to get my words right there, by the advertising industry. And so they set out a little over a decade ago that they wanted to grow their tween market. And so what we're seeing now is this tween obsessed with skincare, and we should not be shaming the tween. We need to be asking ourselves, why are they buying all of this? That women in their 40s and 50s used to be the target for anti-aging skincare. I'm a millennial. I think that was like probably around when my mom started using her Mary Kay and her different like preventative anti-aging treatments. And now it's 10, 12, 18, 20. Those are the demographics. Particularly, it is more women in their 20s get Botox than women in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. And we're going to get into that. But so why? Why has it shifted to this young? We talked about the advertising industry is targeting tweens, but also we are seeing a direct correlation as social media increase rises, so does the beauty and wellness industries. And that is because these products are positioned as wellness products. So what happens, and what we're thinking about as we question, like, is every anti-aging cream good? Is every anti-aging message that I'm receiving good? And I think what I see in my research is that we disguise predatory beauty products as wellness, and that's what makes it hard to have any narratives that say we should be questioning our use, because there's so much your self-care, you're putting on your creams. And I think we need to be questioning these narratives that are entering into our life. Point 2, the young ideal. So we are well aware that our culture is obsessed with thinness, right? We have seen this with, especially now that we have Ozempic on the market, we saw a comeback to this very thin, I would say unhealthy looking body ideal. And that I think is easier for people to call out and say, oh, thin ideal is back, but we're not talking about the young ideal. And the young ideal is where youth becomes the cultural standard, and there is pressure on women to maintain it at any cost. If we think about kind of our bell curve of life, right, of infancy to toddler to childhood to teenage years, adolescence, you are truly only what the media calls is our young ideal is about 18 to 23, 25 is this like worshipped age. That's the age we see in our media. That's the age that we see as influencers and people selling us a lot of these products. And you think we spend most of our life in adult, in a mature phase where we're going to have more wrinkles, more eye droops, more different things going on with mature skin. And so it's that intentionality that we have obsessed about an age that is so narrow and so specific in life and have said you need to maintain until you are 40, 50, 60, 70, this very specific look. And so there have always been anti-aging products, right? If we look at our advertisements from the early 1920s, they have been selling anti-aging treatments. So I want you to know that this is not new. It was very snake oily, and I think a lot of it still is of false hopes and promises that you can be forever young. But what is different now, right? Previously, the models, the celebrities that would be selling these products, they would age. And so it was less alluring, I feel like, for a woman to see something, be like, oh, yes, I'm going to buy that because this celebrity bought it. And there wasn't cosmetic surgeries and Botox and filler. And I think that is the big difference between today's cosmetic industry and the early 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. Is because now we can have women who are heavily using cosmetic procedures, from actually invasive surgery to Botox and filler, and they're telling us that it's because of this cream or this different product that they're using when it's a surgery or a filler. And a lot of us might think, well, then why not just do the Botox or the filler? Women are the most likely to live in poverty, and yet we are going to be spending hundreds of thousands on cosmetics and on beauty treatments throughout our life. And so I think there's an issue if we just say all of us should be using these certain procedures and become kind of obsessed with this. And third, and I think this is the point I really want to land with you, what is anti-aging actually costing us? How much time are we spending worried about aging that we're not living? How much mental energy is going to stressing over if we're going to get that wrinkle? How much joy is this fear of aging taking from you? And how much time that you're spending either researching these products, worrying, obsessing, picking at your face, or going through these extensive routines that you could be spent living in your purpose and feeling more full. So I am not saying throw out all your skincare. I use skincare. I take care of my skin. But at some point, I realized that I was spending more time worrying about these wrinkles coming, worrying about looking mature, instead of focusing and being present and having joy in today. And that also, I felt that in my soul, that is not what God wanted for me. He did not want me to spend so much time obsessed when he specifically says there is wisdom with age, there is maturity to not fear this. And so I think it is something where it keeps us hyper fixated on the self, and we cannot live out our fullest life if we are obsessed with a fear of age. And I think the more we all feed into it, the more our culture maintains that we have this fear and continues to sell us products and procedures and treatments that cost more and more money. What could you do if you spent less time worrying about looking young and more time living? Drop that in the comment.